Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm Tai DeSa. Today we're doing a free course on the BRRRR method. Buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. Today we're talking about how to do a BRRRR deal and get back your original investment in 6 months. This is an awesome way to recycle your money and build wealth quickly. We're going to go through an actual transaction that my wife Amira and I did. This is a fairly quick course, but you will learn a lot. Like, what is the BRRRR method? You're going to learn how to accelerate your wealth building using this methodology. And I'm going to explain why BRRRR is a low risk, high return uh, type of investment vehicle when you do it right. And as mentioned, we're going to do an actual example of a BRRRR deal. Little bit about me. I've been a full-time real estate investor since 2004 when I left active duty in the Navy. I'm a real estate broker in 2 states and have been involved in a number of businesses. I've authored several real estate books. I graduated from the Wharton Business School of the University of Pennsylvania in 1997, and Elon Musk was one of my fellow classmates who graduated the same year. Really, I'm passionate about sharing what I know about real estate investing. I want you to be able to build wealth and passive income like I have. I really want more people to know what to do and get over the fear of investing so they can enjoy the benefits of it. So, what's BRRRR? Stands for buy, then renovate, then rent, then refinance, and repeat. So let's talk about a conceptual deal here. Let's say that you had about $200,000 in cash saved up. You found a fixer-upper house and you bought it for $150,000. Now, let's say that you spent $35,000 in renovations over the course of the first 2 months of owning the house, and you spend about $5,000 on closing and carrying costs. Closing costs includes like title insurance and fees, and then carrying costs includes things like utilities such as electricity and water and natural gas. Can also include homeowners insurance, things like that. So at the end of the 2 month renovation, you rent this house out for $2,000 a month. So there's a 6 month seasoning period with BRRRR deals. And so remember, you bought the house, you spent 2 months renovating it, and you've been collecting $2,000 a month for the next 4 months. So you have about $182,000 left in the deal. To recap, you bought it for $150,000. You spent $35,000 on renovations, $5,000 on closing and carrying costs. So that's a total of $190,000 into the deal, and then you collected $8,000 in rent over months 3 through 6. So you have $182,000 of your own money left in the deal. So with BRRRR, after 6 months, you go to your lender and you ask to do a cash out refinance. Most lenders will let you do a 75% loan to value cash out refinance. So let's assume that your improved house appraises for $250,000. And so your lender says we'll give you 75% of that, which is a loan of $187,500. Now, you will have some closing costs, loan fees associated with that. So let's say that you put $182,000 in the deal, and 6 months later, you're getting back approximately $182,000. And you get to keep the house, and you have $62,500 in equity, plus it's cash flowing. I did look it up. If you borrowed $187,500 at an interest rate of 8.5%, the principal and interest payment per month is $1,441. So with $2,000 coming in, and if you factor in your monthly insurance costs and maybe some repair costs, you're probably cash flowing about $400 a month with this transaction after you refinance it. So we're going to compare the traditional way of buying versus the BRRRR method. So the traditional way is to put 20% down and borrow 80%. And the BRRRR method, as mentioned, is you buy it in cash, you fix it up, and you refinance it. So with 20% down, your lender feels that there's too much risk for them in dealing with fixer uppers. So you are more limited in what you can buy when you're doing a traditional transaction. Your lender probably won't let you buy a fixer upper or may not let you buy one that needs a lot of work. Meanwhile, with the BRRRR, you can buy any level of rehab. It could be a shell of a house, or it could be something that just needs paint and carpet. Basically, you can buy pretty much anything with cash. Now, when you're buying with 20% down the traditional way, you have to compete with move-in home buyers, and you end up paying full price for the property because it's typically move-in ready, and it's got a large pool of buyers fighting to get it. With the BRRRR method, because you're buying fixer-uppers, there's a much smaller pool of potential buyers. So with less competition, you typically can buy it at a discount to its after repair value. Also, with the traditional way of buying a house with 20% down, if you're in a competitive situation, the seller may turn you down if there's a cash offer on the table. Meanwhile, as you know, cash is king. And so when you're buying with the BRRRR method, you are a cash buyer and the seller is more likely to deal with you. Another challenge with the traditional way of buying is that your down payment of 20% gets stuck in the deal perhaps for years. Because let's say, for example, you bought a house, a $200,000 house, and 20% down is $40,000. Well, you just got a loan on it for the difference, $160,000. So you're not going to get another loan after that. And that $40,000 that you put into the deal, it just stays there. You can't recycle it and reuse it like you would with the BRRRR. Because remember, with BRRRR in 6 months, you can get back most, maybe even all, maybe even more than your original investment. Now, the traditional way of buying, if you do a cash out refinance later because the property value has improved and you're trying to pull out that $40,000 down payment that initially made, the problem is that you're paying for two loans. You paid for a loan on the front end when you bought the property, and you're paying for a second loan when you refinance. And that's not necessarily economical or very smart. When you are doing the BRRRR method, you're only paying for one loan. You bought the house in cash, and 6 months later, you get a loan. You're also, when you're buying with 20% down, you're more limited in how many properties you can buy. I'll explain. Let's say you had $200,000 in cash and you wanted to buy with 20% down. You could buy up to five houses because it's a $40,000 down payment. So five houses times $40,000, and you're out of money now. So it's great that you own five houses, but you're tapped out. You can't buy any more. Whereas with the BRRRR method, you keep recycling that $200,000 over and over and over again. You can buy an unlimited number of properties. Let's say, just for simple math, that you bought two properties a year with that money. After 5 years, you'd own 10 properties versus the five you would have been able to buy if you were buying with the traditional method. A good thing about buying the traditional way versus the BRRRR is that you probably could buy your first investment property sooner. You think about it, in the example that I've been using, you're saving up $200,000 to do your first BRRRR deal. But what if you don't have $200,000? What if you only have $40,000? Well, that's where you could buy a property with 20% down, borrow the rest. You get started sooner. So it can take longer to start the BRRRR method, but once you start it, it accelerates your ability to recycle that money and buy more houses. Now, one problem with the traditional way, besides the other ones I've mentioned, is that if home values go down significantly and for some reason you need to sell, you could lose your down payment. Because let's say you put $40,000 down, paid $200,000 for a house. But let's say the property values went down by 10%. So now the house is worth $180,000 and you need to sell it. Well, you're going to lose half of your down payment because you owe 160,000 and the difference is 20,000. With the BRRRR method, if you're getting back all of your money 6 months later, then even if the market goes down and you have to sell, you're just giving up some of the equity that you created. It's paper money, and it's not as hard to deal with. Now, let's talk about an actual bird deal that my wife Amira and I did. This was in 2020. We came across this house. It had just been rented for $800 a month, and the tenant ended up moving out, and the landlord decided to sell the house. So they listed with the realtor on June 12th for $160,000. Now, 5 days later, they didn't have any offers, so they lowered the asking price to $155,000. And 4 days after that, on June 21st, my wife and I offered $130,000 cash with no inspections or contingency. That means that we were not going to do a home inspection. And if the seller accepted our offer of $130,000, we would be contractually obligated to buy the house. Now, what happened is over the next 24 hours, there was negotiation back and forth, and we ended up agreeing upon a price of $136,500 with no contingencies. Just several days later, on July 1st, we bought the house and we started the renovation work that day. Now, we had set a renovation budget of $17,500 and we wanted the job to be done within a month. Part of what we did was we added a half bath. It was a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house, and we added a half bathroom. We also repainted the interior. We put in new custom kitchen countertops. We did some other upgrades, new washer and dryer. Did some landscaping and things like that, just to make the house look great. So on July 11th, place was still under renovation, and we showed the house to a prospective tenant. You see, we had an open house on another one of our rental properties, and that prospective tenant came to that open house and realized that the house we had were that had we had open was just not the right size for them. It was too small. And we said, "Well, we've got this other house. Do you want to come see it? It's not quite done yet." And she said, "Okay." And she came on out and said, "This would be perfect." And she says, "I can see that you're doing the work. So I trust that the work will be done." And she says, "Because I saw your first house, which was neat and complete, I can tell the standard that you have for your property. So I feel confident in signing a lease for this one." So on July 16th, we signed a 1-year lease for $1,555 a month, and that move-in date was August 1st. If you recall, the previous owner had a tenant in this house for only $800 a month. So we were almost doubling the rent right off the bat. And on July 17th, the renovation was completed and we stayed within our budget. So August 1st, the tenants moved in. In late December, because we were doing the BRRRR method, we started our mortgage application. And then on January 6th, just over 6 months after we bought the house, which we remember was on July 1st, we met the appraiser at the house. And he ended up appraising the house for $202,000. And if you take 75% of that, that's a loan of $151,500. And at the time, we were really lucky. We got an investor interest rate of only 3.625%. So on February 5th, we completed the refinance. And at the title company, we received a payment of $149,167.47. And here's the great thing: 1 hour later, we used that money to buy another fixer upper. See this house down here, the brick house? It was listed for $169,900. It didn't sell right away, and so we made an offer of $135,000 cash, and the seller decided to take it, and so we ended up buying that. So I'm going to go back through the numbers in detail so you can see exactly how we did this deal. As you remember, we negotiated and bought the first house for 136,500 on July 1st. You see the actual closing costs. We paid 1 year up front for the homeowner's insurance. Plus, we paid for property taxes that were prorated at the closing. And as mentioned, we had a budget of $17,500 for the renovation, and we came in just under that. And so we had $157,116.24 into the deal. And we received rent over a course of 5 months at $1,555 a month. So at the end of 6 months, the cash we had left in the deal was $147,786.24. And you notice that the check we received when we did the refinance was $149,167.47 because we got a loan. 75% of 202,000 was $151,500. We had some loan fees, $2,332.53. So we ended up getting back all of the money we had into the deal plus a little extra. I will share in future videos more BRRRR deals and more investment techniques. Make sure you go to our Facebook group and like it. It's at Invest and Transform. Share tons of free tips there. Also, go to investingtransform.com. That's my website, investingtransform.com. We have tons of free tips and a free ebook on creative financing and flipping. And you can check out the blog site on my website. Tons of free information on how you can make more money investing in real estate. And also, I've published several books on real estate. Our latest one is How to Become a Wealthy Real Estate Investor, 101 Things You Need to Know Right Now. You can find it on Amazon, also at Barnes and Noble. So check it out. All my real estate books are also at my website. Again, that's investandtransform.com. Again, I'm Tai DeSa. I really appreciate the time you've taken here. Please like my YouTube channel, subscribe, and I will be putting out lots more tips for you. I hope that you build wealth through real estate like I've been able